Hello and welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I'm your man J.P. and today we are continuing on with our series about the Galoob figures and the correlating wrestler that it represents. And today we continue on with this guy, Flyin Brian Pillman. Now this particular figure, it's not real good. It's not, anybody that knows me knows that I am a stickler for the pose. I'm a stickler for the play pose. And this is not a real strong play pose. These hands, as you can see, are wide open. And, most professional wrestlers, they punch. Most of them punch. And Brian Pillman was a puncher, so I don't know why these hands are open. Anyway, but like I said, I didn't have this one when I was a kid. And if I had this one when I was a kid, I probably would have still tried to find a way to make it work. I probably just would have used my imagination. And had him just do open hand strikes or whatever. But, nah. But let's talk about Brian Pillman for a minute. So, he wore these tiger skin trunks because at one point in his life, he played for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, he wasn't a real big guy, but, he was in the wrestling ring. He was kind of more of I don't know necessarily he was a high flyer, but he kind of was a combination of high flyer, technical, anyway. But yeah, in WCW, he was Flyin Brian, and then they tagged him up with Stunning Steve Austin, and they were known as the Hollywood Blondes. And we all know what happened to Steve Austin, but no, Brian Pillman stayed in WCW for a while, and he had some title runs under his belt, I believe, and eventually, though, he became a member of the Four Horsemen. But that didn't really last very long because his character was kind of a loose cannon, kind of the nickname that they gave him. And then eventually, he was in a match with Kevin Sullivan, and he left the ring, and he said something to Kevin Sullivan about him being a booker, kind of, exposing the business. And then, that was kind of the end of his WCW run. But then he went to ECW for a little bit, but before he got signed to the WWF, he got in a serious motorcycle accident, which left his leg severely broken. The WWF, they signed him anyway. They said, we're really interested in having you work for us, so we're just going to work around it, and we'll just put you in some kind of a storyline, and we'll let you heal first. So he eventually did return to the ring in the WWF, but some say he returned to the ring maybe a little bit too soon, and his injury to his leg kind of was lingering on. It kind of still bothered him, so he couldn't really perform to the level that he once did. But I remember when he came to the WWF, they put him in a storyline with Stone Cold Steve Austin, because they were both former tag team partners, and so that was only natural that they put these guys in a rivalry together. And I remember watching this very intense moment on Monday Night Raw where Brian Pillman was in his home and he was talking on camera via satellite, and Steve Austin was coming to his home and was threatening to beat down the door, and he was trying to get into the house. And so then on camera, Brian Pillman pulls out this gun, and it was like a really intense moment. And then when Steve Austin finally breaks through the house through the back door, Brian Pillman points the gun at Austin, and then suddenly the camera goes black, and then you hear a gunshot. And then the audience at home were like, whoa, what happened? Did somebody get shot? What happened there? Come to find out, nobody really got shot, but it was a really intense moment that felt real, you know. It was it was sort of at the beginning stages of the Attitude Era. And like I said, I was never really a big fan of the Attitude Era, but that was one moment that was really like, whew, boy. But yeah, so then Brian Pillman joined up with the Hart Foundation. And now when I say the Hart Foundation, I'm not referring to Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart in the 80s. No, this was in the 90s, the late to mid 90s. And that was when Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, the British Bulldog, and Owen Hart teamed up together with this guy to form the Hart Foundation. They were a faction because they were sort of going through this like anti-America thing, because when Bret turned heel, you know, he was sort of on this, you know, the American fans turned their back on me. They're cheering for a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Therefore, they've got no more place in my life. So I'm only going to be a hero to all the non-American fans, all the European fans, Canadian fans, British fans, Japanese fans, whatever. But Brian Pillman was part of that group. And I liked Brian Pillman. I thought he, you know, his character, I just kind of got a kick out of his character. I remember one scene on Raw where things got a little heated, and Brian Pillman grabbed like this lamp and like shined it in the face of one of the WWF officials and kind of maniacally laughed. He was like, ha ha ha, like he's shining a light in their face, like, ooh, oh no. But that was just kind of his character. That's why they called him the loose cannon. You know, you never knew what he was going to do, never knew what he was going to say. But unfortunately, in 1997, Brian Pillman left this world at the age of 35, and that was way too soon. Way too soon. He was way too young to die. And when that happened, you know I was hit kind of hard, because like I said, I loved Brian Pillman. I thought he was great. I thought he was awesome. But nevertheless, that's kind of what happens sometimes in the wrestling world. You know, these guys are taken from us way too soon, and that's unfortunate. But nevertheless, back to this figure. Like I said, not a real strong figure. The pose isn't really very, very good. If these hands would have been closed, it would have been a much better figure, I think. But nevertheless, I mean, they can't all be perfect, I guess. But anyway, that's Brian Pillman. So what are your memories of Brian Pillman? Flyin Brian, Hollywood Blonde, Flyin Brian, ECW Flyin Brian, WWF Flyin Brian, or Brian Pillman, whatever, loose cannon, whatever you called him. Do you have any specific memories? Do you have any specific memories of watching him? Leave them in the comments below. And that's going to do it for this video. And next time we're going to be talking about a particular figure that was one of my favorite figures of all time. But I'll reveal that on the next video. So if you're new here, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. And I'll see you next time.